And all of a sudden I seen a light coming behind me. So I told Jerry, I'm not getting out for anything, man, I says, because I want to see what happens. And the light come close to me, about maybe 15 feet. So I jumped out the track, and I let the light go by. So I got out the railroad track, and it passed, and it carried on going for about maybe a block and a half. Then it turned left into the bush, and then it started being dim. Finally, it was like a little wicket to me. And that's the light I see. If you saw it, it's going to come back again.
So that man you just saw was a resident of St. Louis, Saskatchewan, and he was talking about his experience witnessing a potentially paranormal phenomenon near this little village. Over the next month or so, I'm going to be posting a bunch of videos on Saskatchewan that I'm really looking forward to. And I wanted to start with the St. Louis Ghost Light for people that are in the Halloween spirit. It goes by a few names. It's known as the St. Louis Light, the St. Louis Ghost Light, and the St. Louis Ghost Train. People have reported many different experiences when witnessing this light, but essentially there's this old abandoned rail line north of St. Louis, and along this old rail bed, people talk about seeing a bright light that will appear suddenly, and often it will travel down the rail track toward observers. People also talk about seeing a red or orange light. Sometimes it appears on its own, and at other times it appears with the white light. So the most common version of the legend is that back in the 1920s, a train was stopped on these tracks, and either a brakeman or an engineer got out, and then unfortunately was decapitated by the train. And many people say that the white light is the ghost train, and the red light is produced by the lantern of the headless ghost that wanders the tracks. People often talk about an ominous, scary feeling that accompanies their sighting, and many others have reported vehicle trouble when they're parked at this location. This is someone in Prince Albert talking about their experience.
Okay, so when I was a teenager, I was out in the woods for the St. Louis lights, and we all went to check it out. And while we were there was a flash of light. So usually what you see, and then it's like it lingers and it bobbles. So it's kind of like, to me, it looked like beyond the flash, it looked like someone walking down a track with a flashlight. So it's like they're walking towards you. But it's like you get that initial flash and you're like, oh gosh, what was that light? And then you see this sort of wobbling kind of light that just kind of looks like a flashlight off in the distance that lingers for quite a while. I don't remember, it was quite a few years ago how long it lingered, but long enough to make everybody uncomfortable and ditch.
Many people outside of Saskatchewan haven't even heard about this ghost light, but it was actually featured on the TV series called Unsolved Mysteries. And in 2014, Canada Post issued a stamp depicting the St. Louis Ghost Train as a part of one of their multiple paranormal collections. And a little bit about St. Louis itself. So this village is about 35 kilometers south of Prince Albert, and it's located on the south bank of the South Saskatchewan River. Métis settlers started coming to this area in the late 1800s, fleeing economic and social dislocation from Red River, Manitoba. St. Louis was the northernmost South Branch settlement, which is a series of Métis settlements in what is today the province of Saskatchewan. And these settlements became the center of Métis resistance during the Northwest Rebellion of 1885. St. Louis was officially incorporated as a village in 1959, and it's actually home to a large archaeological site of indigenous artifacts. Notable discoveries at the site included new species of wolf and buffalo that are approximately 25% larger than modern species. And if you're visiting St. Louis, it's hard to miss the large bison sculpture in Antiquus Bison Park. I also have to mention River Road Pizzeria. This is located on the west end of town in an old converted school building. I stopped here for lunch, the pizza was excellent, and I love that this small town pizzeria even has their own merchandise wall. And when I stopped in, another person at the pizzeria was willing to talk about their experience seeing the ghost light.
When I was out there, what first appeared to me was 3 orange triangle lights, or three round lights that were in a triangle shape. And I seen that for a few seconds, and then that disappeared. And then what came after was a big white light that came towards us and then just disappeared. I'd say like it was like maybe a foot away from us and then just gone. But I've heard like other people say that it like come right through, go right through them.
The village of St. Louis has leaned into this local ghost light phenomenon. For years, there was a restaurant called the Phantom Light Diner. I also found another business in town called Ghost Light Towing, which helps keep this legend alive. When I first visited St. Louis, I stopped at the St. Louis Gas and Convenience Store. I was able to sit down with some friendly locals, and they even drove me out and showed me the exact location where the ghost light appears. The lights appear on an old railway bed that was once part of the Canadian National Railway. The tracks were abandoned in 1983, and they were completely removed in 1988. It's now now just a grassy trail which sits on private farmland, and so I'm not going to disclose the exact location, but honestly it's not that hard to find if you dig around. So late last summer I visited this location at night with a couple friends from Saskatoon, both of whom had seen the light multiple times in the past. We stayed out there for hours, but unfortunately we did not see the light. However, I returned a few weeks later on my own, and this time I was able to see some sort of light almost instantly. So my camera is not the best quality and it just doesn't pick stuff up clearly in the dark, and I apologize for the condition of the footage. I definitely want to get a better camera down the road. But I was able to see some sort of light, and it happened almost immediately. What I saw personally was an orb of light that would flash on and off, and it alternated between white and red. Now, I didn't feel anything particularly ominous when I was witnessing this light, but it essentially appeared as this flashing orb of light, and you can see it a little bit on the video. At one point, I moved a lot further down the rail bed to see if I could get a better view. And interestingly, when I did this, the light did not appear as a round orb anymore. It appeared as a softer, diffused flash of light, although I was not able to get this on video. And so obviously my camera quality is terrible in the dark, but I'm glad I was able to capture something, and this place really piqued my interest. At some point in May of next year, I'm going to come to this spot again with a group of people from Saskatoon, and we're going to bring a drone camera as well as better quality cameras in general. We're going to stay out there a lot longer and move further down the rail line to see what happens. So in the early 2000s, two grade 12 students at Churchill High School in La Ronge, Saskatchewan, famously claimed to have debunked the ghost lights in an experiment that they conducted for a science fair. They claimed that the St. Louis ghost lights were caused by a diffraction of distant vehicle lights, and at times similar explanations have been given for other ghost lights around the world. However, this has been heavily refuted by many people. People in St. Louis say that the lights have been spotted long before cars were common in this area, and others say that the light behaves in a way that just could not be caused by car headlights. And as I mentioned, people have reported a very ominous feeling at this location, and there have been many reports of people experiencing significant vehicle troubles at this spot, which suggests that something else might be going on. The St. Louis light has parallels to other atmospheric ghost lights seen around the world, such as the Longdendale lights in northern England and the famous Marfa lights in Texas. You could also say it's similar to the Will-o'-the-Wisp in European folklore, and there are many other locations around the world where people have reported seeing similar things. One of the most popular scientific explanations for these lights is that they are produced from the natural combustion of certain flammable gases that leak from the ground and then ignite when exposed to oxygen. And there's definitely a debate around the cause of these lights, but I want to do more videos on this topic down the road. There are some places in Canada that experience similar things and they're not as well known. And that's going to wrap up this video. I hope you found this one interesting and informative. If you want to support the channel, you can buy me a coffee, and the link to that is in the description. And if you're not already, then please consider subscribing to my channel. I typically upload something new at least once a week. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you next time on the Strange North channel.